Check Podcasts. Hi, I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. This is Chamber Chats, being recorded as always in the podcasting studios of Czech Television, one of our chamber champions. I would like to acknowledge to begin with that I live and work on the unceded ancestral territories of the Lekwungen-speaking nations, the Songhees and the Esquimalt. Chamber Chats is made possible by the support of Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union, and Seaspan Victoria Shipyards. So on the Chamber Chats, sometimes we just take some time to talk to people who own and operate really cool businesses that have great ideas, that are intensely local, and give us a chance to see how we can support our local economy. Today is no exception. Joining me today, Dave Best, who is the president and CEO of a company called Vanillablossom. Dave, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And Rob Curtis is with us as well. He is the founder and co-owner of Refire Kitchen. Rob, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Okay, so Dave, I'm going to start with you. So vanilla, you're in the vanilla business in Victoria, BC. Tell me how that worked.
Well, back in 2001, my father and I started up Vanillablossom Flavours. We started making vanilla extract out of a kitchen in Sanderson. We had a goal of becoming a national household brand and kind of aspiring to be like the Grand Marnier of vanillas, if you will. And so we worked away, and my father had some health issues, and so he was kind of the brains, and I was the brawn. In 2009, we took over the space where I'm in right now in Keating. Mm-hmm. And 2010, we got into Thrifty Foods.
That's a bit of a breakthrough to get into Thrifty Foods, that's for sure. So we'll also point out vanilla is not produced in this country. We'll talk about that in a second in your role in getting this stuff to market. But Rob Curtis, you're one of those people that decided during the pandemic you would start a business and open one up. But you did so because of the increase in online orders and deliveries and pickups for food. So tell me about your beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly played a role in that, but we probably wouldn't have created this business had it not been for COVID. So a lot of people give us credit for being brave in starting up a business during those weird times. But in fact, we were inspired by it. It's one of the business partners, Chef Todd, his wife is a nurse, and he was in a position where she was spending long hours, as were her coworkers, preparing for what we didn't know what was coming. And so he was just sending her with shepherd's pies or lasagnas, and she would take them to work and share them with her coworkers because they were there for so many hours. So she started coming home and saying, hey, everyone enjoyed that. Can we, maybe get one for Dr. Bob and Sheila, and this department wants one. And before he knew it, he was making 25 shepherd's pies in his oven at home, and it kind of got him thinking. And so him and I had worked together for many years, and my expertise is really nothing to do with the kitchen, but I do sales and marketing and graphic design and et cetera. And he approached me and said, do you think there's a business here? And I didn't know at that time, but I wasn't doing much. So I thought, I could take the time, we'll put together a website and I'll kind of have fun with it and brand it, and we'll come up with a name and a logo and do all the things. We'll put it online and see what happens. And at the same time, Chef had also approached our other business partner, which is Chef Brian. They had worked together for many years, and we brought in another business partner who's quite well known. Her name is Margaret Lucas, and has an incredible business acumen. And that's the team that took the project forward. And it started slow, but as we got a little traction, things really kind of took off for us. So feel very fortunate.
Margaret Lucas is actually a chamber governor. She is a past board chair of this Chamber of Commerce, past city councilor, worked in the hospitality business. So you actually have two locations. One, you're speaking to me from the one on Fort Street, right across from the chamber office.
Correct.
And
yes.
You just opened in View Royal, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Dave Best, let's go back to you. So you're working with this vanilla product that you want to be the Grand Marnier of vanilla, but we don't grow vanilla here. You simply process it here. Tell me about sourcing vanilla for your operation.
Well, we source our vanilla beans from Madagascar, which goes into all our vanilla extract products, our vanilla paste, that kind of stuff. We also source vanilla beans from Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Uganda. starting to bring some beans from Brazil, places like that. So comes from all over the world. We bring it here to Victoria. We extract it and we bottle it here.
You're talking about bringing that stuff from all of those places in the world to here. Then suddenly the pandemic, there it is now. So suddenly the pandemic comes along. How does that impact your supply chain of bringing those beans to you? What happened with that stuff during COVID?
Well, I mean, with all these regions of the world, the pandemic was bad, but a lot of these regions have been dealing with countless issues for years. So I don't know. It didn't really impact them as bad as I thought it would. But I was lucky enough that I bought enough stock before the pandemic that I didn't have to order tons more. So that kind of helped us ride the wave for well over a year. Things like alcohol, though, like we use a lot of alcohol. That was a bit of a pain. Trucking companies had staff shortages, layoffs, that kind of stuff. So those were issues. My biggest issue was packaging, because all the bottle manufacturers and cap manufacturers all retooled all their factories to make products for hand sanitizer bottles and sprayers, which we got into. That's probably a different topic, but
Okay, we'll pick that up later, maybe.
Yeah, if it wasn't a pandemic in Madagascar, it was a cyclone. And if it wasn't a cyclone, it's government issues and people looting crops and trying to protect their crops. So there's always something that was going on over there. Still to this day is going on. But we deal with some families over there and are pretty, I'd like to say, semi-protected from that stuff.
Yeah.
Pandemic didn't really affect us that much.
Okay, so Vanillablossom has a range of products, and of course, Refire Kitchen is it's a kitchen with. So we're going to talk about what the products are that these two companies have. We'll do that next. Chamber Chats today, we're talking with David Best. He is the president and CEO of a company called Vanillablossom. They make vanilla products. And Rob Curtis is the founder and co-owner of Refire Kitchen. So, Rob, you've talked about one of your chef partners being a guy who was making food for his wife to take to the hospital for hospital workers. Talk about your menu. What kind of stuff do you provide to people?
Well, we are, as I say, we're unapologetically comfort food. So our food is hearty. It tastes good. It's things like shepherd's pie, it's barbecued pulled pork mac and cheese. We do an incredible lasagna, both veggie and a lasagna bolognese. Really great soups, stews, chilies, but it's really hearty. There's calories and flavor in our food, and we don't apologize for it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I can attest to that, and it also smells terrific because, as I said, you're across the street from my office at the Chamber. And just while we're talking about the products you have two locations, the one on Fort Street, and you've just opened in View Royal, but neither location is a sit-down restaurant. It's all for pickup and takeout, correct?
Yeah, correct. We kind of say, the take and bake or heat and eat is the kind of food. So when you walk into a Refire location, the storefront is just coolers and freezers, and we have both our products in both fresh and frozen. So if you want a lasagna for dinner tonight, you'd probably head to the fresh one, and if you want to pull a shepherd's pie out of your freezer, in the next week or something, you can grab one frozen and have that tucked in. All our food is, if you buy fresh, you can put it right in the freezer. It all comes back perfect. We've tested and tweaked it to make sure that it's as good in either state.
Yeah. I want to come back and talk to you about supply chain in a second, but Dave Best at Vanillablossom. So you make vanilla extract, but you make a whole bunch of other things. We even touched on you bringing cinnamon and stuff. So tell me about the range of products that you offer.
We brought in. We have a whole range of spices, all the top 30, if you will, and then we use those to make things like seasonings. So we got a blackening spice here.
Oh yeah.
We got a Cajun spice, and we got a terrific curry powder. So we got all sorts of seasonings that we make. Quite popular, and we do all these because we need to diversify. If we just have one bottle of vanilla, and I go up to Rob and I say, "Hey, Rob, want some vanilla extract?" And then he looks at his pantry and he sees there's 300 different items there. Well, he's not going to call 300 different suppliers. So we need to have a range of products for all these chefs to be able to to come to and buy that aren't just there for convenience. They're actually top quality spices.
How was that supply chain impacted, if at all, by the interruptions of the pandemic? So sourcing the materials that go into those products.
Well, it's all the same thing. It's again trucking companies and our suppliers that have staff shortages. I had one company that had their entire office get COVID, and so they shut down for almost a month because it took that long for you know the chain of people to get sick and get back to work and not reinfect each other.
Okay, let's go back into the kitchen at Refire Kitchen. And Rob, you're bringing in stuff to make the products that you do, the comfort food, or as I call it, mommy food. But there must have been some interruptions in the supply chain for you.
There was. We were pretty lucky in terms of food. Just we deal with a multitude of suppliers, and if an item was maybe not available from our regular supplier, we often could source that from an additional supplier. What we found a little bit tough in terms of supply chain is for the last 6 months we've been building our own production kitchen, which is alongside the opening of the second location. The equipment was quite affected by the supply chain, so we're looking at bringing in quite a bit of industrial kitchen gear as well as coolers and freezers, and those were back ordered for an indefinite amount of time. We had them on order for several months before they could even give us a guesstimate as to when those would arrive. So those supply chains were obviously affected. For us, the big impact has been the price increases, and basically across the board with food items. We've all been to the grocery store. We see what's happening there. It's no different from a wholesale perspective. Those prices have been impacted greatly. So, it's everything. Like, there was ingredients that we never used to cost into our meals, things like oil that we would use, and some of the spices, etc. And those rose in ways that we actually had to start costing those into our recipes, where historically we never had to before. So that was an impact for us, and we resisted the price increases as best we could. But to remain viable, I mean, at some point, just like every restaurant or every grocery store, you've got to adjust the pricing at some point. So that's been something that we've had to deal with. That's been impactful over this period.
Yeah, you said the magic word there, spices. So Dave, I'm going to go back to you now. What about the price impact on you sourcing those materials to create your spices and vanilla extract? Has that been a factor for you?
Yes, it has. I've had spices go up about 15% across the board, which some gone up higher, some hasn't been as high. So that's about a medium level there. And typical, so like some spices, you don't see a price increase for years. So if you see all these things rise of what they have done in the past, 12 months, say, it's pretty drastic. When you look at the grocery store, peanut butter never ever has an increase in price in a decade, and it had a first increase in price, I believe, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, spices definitely got a hit. And again, it comes to supply and demand. There's massive demand. Supply is limited by staff shortages, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I want to talk about that now. You, for example, where you are, you're in the Keating Crossroad in central Saanich. You don't have, not a lot of people live around there. So people that are going to go to work for you have to make the trip to get to the workplace. So how has workforce sourcing and retaining been for you?
Actually, pretty good. Well, we have a bus stop right here. One of the main bus routes coming from town, the 70 or 75.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty main. Yes, it's pretty easy for people to get here. The other thing is I require people to have a driver's license because they have to do deliveries for us and stuff. So it kind of warrants a certain type of person. We've actually been pretty lucky. Before the pandemic, we hired a few people, and during the pandemic, we hired a couple, and we managed to retain them throughout the whole process there. And we managed to do that because we gave a higher wage than normal people, than most companies give for this type of work, like labor work, bottling line work. And so yeah, it hasn't really been a problem with us.
That's good.
As a matter of fact, we're hiring right now.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Vanillablossom is hiring. Rob Curtis, what about you at Refire Kitchen? How has staffing been? And you're expanding too into another location. So have you had issues with finding and retaining staff?
Yeah, 100%. We kind of advertise in the main channels, as you might imagine, and what I noticed is just the lack of response to the advertisements. We as well try to pay a higher wage than maybe what's typical in our customer service positions up front, and I would run an ad for a week and receive maybe 10 to 12 applications. Oddly enough, half of those would be from overseas, people applying, yeah, from the Philippines or from India or what have you. And so they're not even local people that I can easily bring in for an interview. So that was challenging. We're very lucky just in opening up this new endeavor. We have been able to attract some good staff, and so we feel pretty lucky. But it's not like 40 people show up when you put the cattle call out, and you can kind of just have a look at the top 5%ers. It's you're looking at everybody, because anyone that applies is a possible candidate at this point, because it's just the pond is not well stocked at the moment.
Yeah, immigration is going to start coming back, as we've heard, in large numbers, which has always been a primary source of workforce for us across Canada, let alone Vancouver Island. International students will be coming back more. That's also going to be another source of staff as well. But something else we want to talk about here, you talk about the difficulty in getting the word out to hire staff. People also have to know about your product and your service, so I want to talk about that next. Chamber Chat today is with a couple of guys doing really cool things in the food sector. Rob Curtis is the founder and co-owner of Refire Kitchen, and Dave Best is the president and CEO of Vanillablossom. So, Dave, how do you get the word out about your products?
Primarily social media, Facebook, Instagram. Those methods have proven to be really effective over the past 2 years. We used to do a lot of print ads and radio ads with the local radio stations in town and across the country. But bang for your buck, social media right now is the best way.
Yeah. Rob, what are you doing to get the word out about Refire? I mean, word of mouth for both of you is going to be a factor too. But Rob, what do you do to get people out and understanding more about Refire?
Yeah, we've had just a small budget for like a Facebook campaign, and what I like about that is you can control your budget, but you can really drill down and find the demographic and the geographic locations and profiles of the customers that you really want to talk to, and you can really see the results. So you can view the reporting. So I like that. If you run a print, and we have done some print ads and with some publications that are local here and that I like and I know that are well distributed. But it's kind of a hit and hope with print, as we know. You put it out there as part of your marketing mix, and you hope that it just kind of drips on people somewhere and they start making a connection in the variety of the marketing mix. But the print ad doesn't offer you that same technology where you can go, oh, how many impressions did I get today? How many people maybe engaged with that impression? So I love the social media. It's the one advertising that we can all afford. It's free. But that targeted ad campaign with Facebook, we put a small budget in there, and I think we get pretty good results with it, just the way we've got it refined, and we tweak it constantly and try to find new people.
Yeah. Dave Best at Vanillablossom, what have you learned over the last number of years that you could share with other business owners? What sort of things do you think people need to know?
Well, always think you gotta try and be original. In order to get that next sale, you might need to think about how to stand out from the rest of your competition. So in other words, like I'm going to use grocery store for an example. You look at Victoria, Greater Victoria. How many people we have living in the Greater Victoria area? Like 300,000, maybe.
That's about 400. Yeah.
100.
Wow.
Okay. After 10 p.m. till 6:30 a.m., you tell me which store you go to buy something. If you need some Tylenol or you need jug of milk because you work a late shift. You need to be a little bit different. You need to open different hours. Maybe not all of them. You just need to stand out from the crowd. Like for us, for instance, we're trying to create different products to interest people to click on our ad and come to our store. Think outside the box. I'm not saying that these grocery stores aren't. They have a totally different issue that they're battling. But for the restaurants, I mean, Victoria has the largest restaurant per capita in Canada, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's right.
So you see a lot of restaurants opening, and you see a lot of them closing. So how do you keep competitive in this market, especially with how much it costs to open a restaurant? Be unique, be different, keep a smile on your face, keep your staff smiling, take care of your staff. If you have happy staff, you have a happy business.
Yeah. Rob Curtis, Refire Kitchen, what would you give as advice to people that you've learned over the last couple of years?
I couldn't agree more with Dave. By the way, that was well spoken. For us, I mean, any successful business, they kind of identify a problem, and then they provide the solution, and that seems to always be kind of the magic thing for us. We know that young families are busy. They're running one kid to soccer and they're running another one to dance. And hey, you live in Victoria, both parents are working, and mom or dad doesn't have time to go to the grocery store and stop and prep and cook and chop and fire up dinner and then clean up the mess. So for us, we provide what we call like a stress-free meal, and it's like dad or mom could just go to the cooler and pull out a made lasagna, pop it in the oven, and it's done. And then off to wherever they're going, off to soccer, off to hockey. So yeah, we kind of identified people have less and less time, and yet you got to eat. You got to eat every day, at least a couple times, if not three. Food industry would like to eat more. I would like to eat more. So we try to provide that unique, how to solve that problem for young busy families, and seniors love us as well. Seniors are kind of done cooking, and we're a great solution for them as well.
Yeah. Great ideas, great companies. Both of you are doing remarkable things. We want to thank you for your time today. Rob Curtis is the co-founder and co-owner of Refire Kitchen, and David Best is the president and CEO of Vanillablossom. Look for those products everywhere, buy them often, and enjoy them. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here today.
Thanks so much, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it.
You bet. And that's it this time around. I'm Bruce Williams. We'll see you again for another Chamber Chat.